Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Curtis, and this is ThatTurboDakota YouTube channel. I thought it'd be fun to sit down and do a short video on the current setup of my 2000 Dakota RT, which is right here behind me. We have been posting some videos of just some test and tune events, through the end of the year at my local track, and it's me trying to get the thing figured out. I'm no chassis expert by any means, and this thing has a lot of adjustments in it now that I've never had to deal with. So, like I said, sit down, we'll go through the setup. If you're curious, if you're a Dodge enthusiast or a Dakota enthusiast, or you like things that are turbo, I think you will enjoy this video. So what I'm going to do is flip the camera around, we'll go through this thing front to back and talk about what it has done to it. Okay, so what we're looking at is a 2000 Dodge Dakota RT. It actually only has about 80,000 original miles on it. I bought it from my cousin at the time he was stationed in Seattle, Washington. Had it shipped here. I think it only had about 60,000 on it at that point. It's been turbo for the last almost 6 years now. It is a stock bottom end setup. When I say stock bottom end, I'm talking stock pistons. Rods, crank, ring gap has never been touched. Now the top end of the motor is built. It does have engine quest, cast iron cylinder heads, upgraded valves. I think it's like a 202 intake. ARP head studs, Felpro 1008 head gaskets. The camshaft in it is aftermarket. It's a 230 on 230 is the duration at 50 on a 114. I think it's about 565 lift. We do have upgraded valve springs, obviously, to go along with the cylinder heads. Mopar M1 single plane intake manifold, which you can see kind of right here. It is the bigger intake. FMB throttle body. It is the 58 millimeter, which I do believe is the biggest one they make. To top that off, we do have a turbo kit. That is a precision unit 6768 with a billet front wheel. The turbo manifold. That turbo manifold came from a place in Washington State. It's called TTI. It's, like I said, it's been on here ever since. Has a T4 flange, if you can see it, right down in there. On this side, we'll walk around over here to the driver's side. What you're looking at down here is a Mopar Performance header. You can kind of see it down there hiding. That is a Mopar Performance header, PPH as some guys will call them. And the way this works is that side actually goes 2.5 inch pipe, and it ties over here into the passenger side to the bottom of the turbo header, which is kind of hard to see. It's 2.5 inch pipe. It actually goes down across the back of the bell housing, then up here towards the front of the truck, and it ties in, if you can see it, you can kind of see it a little bit, way down there, and that's how we tie the two sides together. 3.5 inch down pipe that I fabricated all the way out the back. It pops out. It's kind of hard to see right before the rear tire. You can see it sticking out just a little bit. It just has some kind of 3.5 inch stainless steel muffler just to quiet it down. 60 millimeter precision wastegate, and it is in a kind of an unorthodox area, but because of the size of it, really has no repercussions. Again, it's up underneath the truck. It's actually right over here on the driver's side, right before it crosses over the pipe and crosses over under the bell housing. Let's see. Intercooler came from Treadstone. I did fabricate all the pipe work in and back out. That's all my welds. If you're curious and you want to turbo your Dakota, what I did is I actually did about a 4-inch hole saw through there, and then relocated my battery with another 4-inch, so you can see it, 4-inch hole saw through that fender, and then it just ties into this Treadstone intercooler. I believe the part number might be 1325 or something along that nature. It is 3-inch in and 3-inch outlet, and I think the core size is 3-inch. It's a universal thing, and I just bought it and mounted, fabricated up some mounts, as you can see, and it's got some 1x1 aluminum welded to the bottom that's nut serted to the core support. Because my truck is a 2000, if you know anything about Dakotas, the radiator typically sits a little bit farther forward where you can't see the cap. So I went to a 99 radiator, and that gave more than enough room to stick that intercooler. It actually fits very, very well, almost like it's meant. Other than that, as far as the motor setup, you know, the normal stuff, MSD ignition. I did switch the power steering pump over for Grand Cherokee, and what that did initially is it actually sucked it more inboard. So you can see it bolts to the back of the cylinder head, which freed up a little bit of space. Grand Cherokee line, Grand Cherokee pump. I think I might have had to swap the pulley just because it's a 7 rib belt. It really was. It was really straightforward. Full return fuel system. These fuel rails came from Richard at Hypotech. If you do not know him, you should check it out. He makes a lot of stuff for the Dodge Dakota Ram platform, you know, 318, 360. Really good stuff. I have never had any issues. The return fuel system, the fitting that goes in the top of the pump came from him as well. This truck does have the factory tank and the factory location. Walbro 400's been in there ever since it's been turboed. No, she's out of that. What else? So, transmission. Transmission is a 46 RE, which comes stock in these. It is built. It does have a John Cope CRT valve body. John makes a billet valve body for these things. It is manual. It does have a trans brake. I'll give you a shot. If you look in here, that is a PPP shifter. It's a billet piece. I did make the mount for that. I'm still using the factory console and stuff. I wanted it to look as stock as possible. I really, really like that shifter. On the top of it, if you look around here, you can see the red button. That is for our trans brake and our reverse. Up here on the dash, see if I can get it to focus for you. There you go. You got trans brake and then torque converter lockup, as we are still using a lockup converter. The trans brake button actually allows me to hit that button, and then while I'm going down the road, even if I hit the red button on the shifter, nothing will happen. Kind of like a safety function. I'm running, as you can see, AM trans temp. I've got AM boost controller, the true boost, and your fuel pressure wideband, the normal, the engine management for this truck. So this is a little bit different. It has been running on an AM version 1 computer. It is piggybacked to the stock computer. So what that means is it has a jumper harness, which is this right here. You actually can't buy these anymore. Then it has a supplemental wiring harness that runs down to the computer inside the cab. That just runs the motor. At one point, there was a point in time where the transmission was still electronic, because as of right now with the valve body, I have to shift it. If you know what a manual valve body is, I have to shift it. I call the shots. But at one point in time, it was still electronic. The trans was still electronic. It needed to share sensors to allow the transmission to still shift. And the way you do that is you get a jumper harness, and basically is I take control of everything that makes this motor run, but I also share it with the factory computer, and that still allows that transmission to shift. It went years like that, and I think what happened is I just got to the place where, you know, we're progressing and it's starting to turn into race car territory. So obviously it was time for a little trans brake action. One thing led to another. So yeah, but I mean, it works great. It is very, very outdated. Actually, if you see this, all these boxes right here, what you're looking at is the start of a switch to a Holley Dominator setup. I guess boxes in the cab. You know, it's winter time here in Maryland, so this is when we get all the work in. So that's going to be maybe some future videos if anybody's interested. I'll post a couple small things about that here and there as I wire this thing for the Dominator, and then I will get rid of the factory cluster and actually have the bigger Holley digital dash. So I'm really excited about that. I'm still trying to, you know, keep the interior stock as possible until the point where I need to put a cage in it. So that's transmission. So rear end. Now, because this thing is trans brake now, the 9 1/4 rear that came in these trucks is very strong, but it is a C-clip rear, which could potentially be dangerous, especially, you know, with the power this thing is making. This thing made on the chassis dyno about 620 horsepower and about 12 pounds of boost. The only time I had it on the dyno, I tuned this truck myself. I am not a professional tuner. but it has lasted 6 years turbo. Needless to say, the bottom end of this Magnum motor is a lot stronger than people want to think. It doesn't live its life at 600 wheel horsepower. When I run it all the time, I typically run like 8 pounds of boost maybe on the street. There's just no need to run upwards of 12 on the street all the time. All it does is spin, even on a drag radio. But anyway, so the rear was swapped out over last summer. It has a quick time, actually Ford 9-inch rear. They custom fabricated it. I sent them the measurements. They sent me the housing, and it fits very well. If anybody's interested, I can do a video. We'll get up under the truck, and we'll look at that stuff. But it really looks like it belongs in the truck. It's got 35 spline axles. It has a spool in it with a 370 gear, which is honestly isn't too far off of what these trucks came with. They came with 392 from the factory gear set. Transcooler. I do have a transcooler. If you've noticed, and might not have noticed, you do not see any kind of transcooler in the front of this truck. That's because it is on a cooler up underneath the bed with its own fan. As I was trying to get weight in the back of this thing, it is 60. We scaled it. It's 61% up front, about 39 in the rear, so it nose heavy. It is what it is. I think this year we're gonna go to a fuel cell. I'm gonna put it in the bed. The battery's actually up underneath the bed off the frame rail on the passenger side. It's going to go in the bed, so we're trying to kind of shuffle the weight around in hopes to get better 60-foot times. The fastest pass this truck has made has been a 1065 at 127.5. I've done a lot of test and tunes with this truck, so I kind of laugh when people want to tell you that this system isn't real strong. Somewhere in this truck. That might be in here. There you go. See all these right here? If you can see them, I can actually focus on them. These are time slips. This truck has done something. Some are really faded, but it was a progression thing. You can see 11.6. What is that? See if we can just zoom. There you go. But it's just time slips, time slips, time slips, time slips. The power level really hasn't changed over the years. It's just kind of everything else around it. I was trying to find you that 10-second. There it is, right there. That is the fast to date. That is the fastest time this thing has ever ran. Right there. So I do believe this is the fastest stock bottom in Dakota. I know there was a little bit of chatter as I'm part of that forum and part of the Facebook group, and there was some chatter about that. And I think when we walked away, I do believe I am the fastest on this platform. Not to say there's another stock Magnum bottom end vehicle that's faster, but it is full weight with me in it. We're talking about 4,000 pounds. So it is not light. It's not Hellcat heavy, but it is not light. It's a full frame truck. Besides that, again, if you guys want to go more in depth, I'll get the thing up in the air. I'm getting ready to tear it apart to do this Dominator install, but I will get it up in the air for you, and we can go over there. I'll let you look at the suspension in the rear and the trans and all that stuff if you're interested. More of the turbo kit. Maybe you're thinking about turbo in your Dakota and you need ideas. I'm more than happy to share that with you guys. That is not a problem. I wish somebody did that with me. I had to do a lot of digging. Just didn't find a lot of stuff. What we didn't talk about, the suspension. So the suspension is set up for drag racing. It has Caltrack bars in the back with Calvert Racing mono leafs, Viking Warrior double adjustables in the rear that are actually in the stock location, which is something that's going to get changed here shortly. As far as the front goes, the front has a Viking hybrid coilover. So what that means is the top of that spring fits in the factory pocket, but the bottom is actually, I think, 2.5 inches and fits on the shock body just like a coilover on, in a car or whatever. It is also Warrior Series. It is also double adjustable. Upper and lower control arms actually came from a place. There's a fabricator that did a run of tubular control arms, and I did purchase a set. He made them for me without the lower spring mount, and they worked out great. I really, really like them. It allows me to lower the truck It just simplifies things. So far so good. I mean, it's the last couple of times at track, it was actually pulling the front left tire up and coming back down. See, it's not like it's just driven easily on the street. There's a lot of suspension. I got about 7 inches of front end travel with this truck, which is helpful because it weighs so much as far as weight transfer and that fun stuff. But yeah, so let me know if you guys want to see more videos. I'll be more than happy to post some stuff. And amongst other things, I got some friends that have some turbo vehicles that we work on. I do some of my own fabrication, do some TIG welding and making some different things. I built the trans in it. I did all the work. I did everything as far as this goes. The only thing I probably won't touch is when it's time to get a cage in it, just because it's just such a safety thing. And I can weld, but I don't know, structurally. I'd rather take it to somebody that does it every day. But again, thank you. Thanks for checking it out. Let me know what else you want to see. If you want to see anything else, any more content. Thanks. See ya.